Well, the day has finally arrived that we're going to do a tour of the upstairs of the barn. More like a museum up there. You'll see what I mean here in a minute. But just want to take a moment to thank everybody for subscribing. First, I'll give credit to the Lord. And the Lord got me here to this point. I never thought I'd make it to 100,000 subscribers, but I praise Him first and foremost for giving me the understanding of the Scriptures, and I've been a blessing to many as a result of the Holy Spirit leading me into the truth. So all credit goes to the Lord Jesus Christ, first and foremost. But then I'd like to also thank my subscribers, all of you out there, 100,000 plus people now. Praise the Lord for that. Really neat that you got me to this point. And I want to thank my supporters that made all of this possible. You've recognized the fact that I've spent many hours, literally thousands of hours over the years, studying the Scriptures, laboring in the Word and doctrine, and you recognize that, and you said the laborer is worthy of his reward, and so that has been put towards this. So I'm going to have to use a lantern up there, one of my Milwaukee cordless lanterns, because it's a little bit dark up there. Lighting's not real great. I'll be trying to take care of that. But let's head up. Up the stairs we go. You have to watch out because there's a hidden drive up there. The bear's to the right. So, alright, so not going to do an ultra detailed thing here because it take me 8 hours to do it, but you can see some of the old Quaker State motor oil back when they came in cans before they were in plastic bottles. Now we'll go up here, coming up, and here we are upstairs. There it goes back in that way, and I guess we'll just go to the right here, and we'll start. But you can see there's a lot of stuff up here. A lot of very old things. Alright, so first we start out, put my lantern down, we start out here, a lot of copper there, a big spool of that, but there's some older things, something up there. This is all untouched in terms of I didn't move any of this stuff. This is exactly how we bought it. Not really sure what that is. There's a lot of this type of stuff up here that I'm not going to be sure what it is. Looks like a bunch of yardsticks there. And different things. This is kind of neat, this old Hercules Powder Company. Right there you can see it. Come on, focus. Hercules Powder Company. Pretty neat. But a lot of just interesting little things, brushes and a little box there and little seam roller, I guess. It might be for wallpapering or something to roll the seam. I forget what those things are used for. A little strainer and little things. Old pair of goggles, I guess for cutting with a torch or whatever. This old wooden toolbox here. Let me grab my light so you can see the old toolbox. A lot of different things in there. Old wrench there. See a little picture of a it looks like a little black boy or something there with a goose. Kind of funny. It's a tap and die set down here. There where my finger's pointing. There's an old propane light. A lot of off-grid places use these. Right there. I'm just going to angle my light over this way. All this trunk here. Let me get this thing off of this. We have this big trunk here. Has little skis underneath it, which is kind of interesting. If you can see those little wooden they're not really skis in the sense of, you know, cross-country skis or something, but they could move it, I guess, across the snow or something. It's a little shaper things there. Hopefully you can see that. That thing there. Let me open this up. I think the bodies was taken out of this, but just kidding. Down in there is a tent. You can see the tent stakes down in and things. Hopefully that comes out. So you have to keep your tent safe from the mice, so you put it in a big trunk like that. But let's go around now. And back in here, grab my light again. Back in there you can see just a lot of different machine parts. Way back in there, old chair things. Old toolbox back in there. Some metal things there. I think that one up here, that one right there, I think is for a motorcycle. The other one looks a little bit long for that. I'm not sure though. It could be something else. But here you have an old mattress beside me here. Old single bed. And there's the frame for it. But there's an old scroll saw. There I have a similar one. But just a lot of old wrenches and different parts. Some furniture back in there. Here's a little rabbit head mold. I guess make your own chocolate bunny heads. That looks like some kind of a little lathe of some kind right down there, if you can see that. Pretty interesting. Then we have a bunch of windows there, you can see. And he's got crosscut saws everywhere. I mean, they're downstairs in the shop area. He's got several. It's actually more like a dozen or two, you know. There's some kind of a little contraption built, like some kind of thing for the back of a motorcycle. I guess some little box that you can put your stuff in. Some old leather belts hanging up there. Here's an old planer for woodworking. You can see a chain drive in there. It's pretty interesting. No idea if it works or not. But yeah, it's an old planer. Little custom handles on there. Wheels on the other end. But there's the backrest thing, the cushioned backrest for a street bike. You can see hanging there. Old car seats. More windows back in there, more backrests. So there's a ridge cap there for building metal roofing. More windows. Big steel cable type of thing there. There are some old crutches, you can see. And it looks like an old butter churn right there, as you can see. Right here, it's got a little foot treadle thing on it. I guess you rock it back and forth. Yeah, like that. And then you would have the handle there too that you could grab onto. Very interesting. This screen thing, which probably, there's the two doors that go outside here in the barn. So those doors, or the screen thing here with the chicken wire, I think probably would go in one of those doors. Again, more shelving here on the end. There's some kind of an old, I don't know what that is, little wheeled thing, I guess for gardening or something. This might be an old washer, I'm not sure on that. Like for washing your clothes, I'm saying. A lot of old, there's some old brass gauges there. A lot of things, not sure what they all are. Some boxes there. That down there looks like an old plane, but I'm not sure on that one because because I don't know where the blade would go. Right there, this thing. There's an old joiner plane. There's an ice auger back in there, if you can see the blue ice auger. Now we'll get to the big surprise, okay? This is going to be the good one here coming up. A few more things over here. Not really sure what that thing is there. I don't really know. Some little propane tank things. An old oil can there. Here's an old hand-carved sign that says Ski-Doo. You'll see why that's up here in a minute. Some cedar planking. And look back in there at that yellow thing. A vintage snowmobile. Old Ski-Doo. Let me show it to you. There it is. Pretty neat. The son that I talked to, that he was at the closing for the property, and he said it ran when they put it up here. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to get the thing running or not, or even if I can get it downstairs. That's going to be a challenge, but definitely an old snowmobile. These are one of the first ones that came out, if I remember correctly. But there's another surprise here behind me. I'll show you in a minute. Some old red seats, I guess, from something. I don't know what that is. And there's the kitchen sink. So you can't say it has everything but the kitchen sink. No, there's the kitchen sink. Looks like some old parts of an old pew or something there. Church pews. Here's an old refrigerator. Let's see if I can open this thing up. I'll have to put this over here. Put my light down. I don't want to cooperate. There we go. But yeah, you can open this old thing up. Look inside there. Little ice box in the middle. And the big, thick, insulated part of the door there, where it went in at. They don't make refrigerators like this anymore. So they probably even still call them ice boxes. But okay. Up there you have AC spark plugs. Kind of neat. Old container. But are you ready for the big surprise? This is one I really like. How about a Honda motorcycle? I think it's a CB400. Not really sure, but a lot of the old Hondas like this were 400s. And again, he said it ran when they put it up here. So 8,139 miles. I don't know, I didn't get a chance to check and see if it has gas in it yet. I hope not. I hope that they didn't store it with gas in it. It's been up here for many years, then the gas has probably turned to just disgusting mush. You know what, let me just check real quick. Man, it's really locked up. Trying to get this thing off of here. I don't know if it's keyed. Like you have to put the key in it to get it to come up. It won't come off. It's really corroded. Or not corroded, but just really dry. I don't know. Hopefully it doesn't have gas in it, because that makes it really challenging. I have restored a bike the one time that had a really rusted gas tank. The gas had been in it for 17 years, I think it was, and it was bad. But anyhow, here's an old gas stove right there. So we can say goodbye to the Honda for now. The tires actually don't look too bad. So, but that's the beauty of these old 1970s bikes like this. Front tire's a little flat, but these old bikes, they really don't take a whole lot to fix up. And I've seen bikes like this that you think there's no way that would run. You get it out, change the oil, new plugs, new air filter, clean the carburetors, make sure the gas is good, and they'll fire right up. You ride them around once you have good tires. Alright, so now let's continue our tour. Here you have this big frame, and I have no idea what that thing is for. Not really sure. Bunch of fluorescent light tubes up there. There's looks like an old ringer. Oh, yeah, there's an old ringer for an old washer right there. We use hand ringers off grid, and they work very well. They never smash buttons or whatever, but those electric ones, they were famous for smashing buttons and zippers, bending the zippers and things. But so I'm not a big fan of the electric ones, but the manual hand-powered, hand-cranked ringers are pretty good. There's some kind of an interesting wooden thing there, like a little gate or something, I guess. Pretty neat. Little wooden end table here. And this is a little instrument. I don't remember what you call that. Is it a recorder or something, I think? Something. So, no idea how to play it. Probably so out of tune, whatever. But down there you have a little play school, little mailbox, kind of interesting. Old metal ringer for a, or not a ringer, but whatever you call it, for the mop bucket. And then up here, there's some things hanging on the wall there. 3-piece locking C-clamp set. And you have all these little boxes and things of screws and bolts and all sorts of little hardware. A lot of old timers, they didn't throw away any old hardware. It's kind of an interesting thing. My father was the same way, and my grandfather was the same way, and I'm the same way. I don't like throwing away a lot of fasteners. But there's, it looks like an old horn right there, like for an automobile horn. Again, some more cables there going up. There's a big rat trap right there. Here's an old exercise bike. There's some kind of a toolbox down there. There's an old rocking chair, or glider, I guess they call those. Somewhat of a glider, I guess. But it goes back and forth. See, it's not actually it doesn't have the bottom rocking curved rocker things. It's just got little springs and a little metal thing that it rocks back and forth with. Here's a more modern exercise contraption. So, old metal desk. A bunch more stuff back in there. Looks like a bunch of old books and magazines and things. There was a bunch of National Geographics up here somewhere. 1981 receipts, it says down there. I don't think that they're going to be good anymore. But yeah, lots of old paint cans and old oil cans, paint thinner, whatever. And now we'll go back into here. Old tires. Some kind of old something or other back there. There's white things. I'm not sure what they are on the wall. Not crowbars. I don't know what they are. Something or other. Education up here, you know. Something. I'm not sure what that thing is. Very interesting contraption there. If you know what that is, you can write it in the comments section. Alright. There's a rather neat old light there, sort of a, it says Buick, I guess, on it. It's kind of interesting. It has like a little handheld area there. Finger grooves. Some bandsaw blades up there, you can see. Alright, now we'll walk out of here. A lot of this I haven't even opened yet, so there could be all kinds of interesting things in these boxes and whatnot. But let's continue on with our tour. Old bucket down there. Looks like the front of some Paveys. Yeah, right there. for moving logs around if you don't know what a Pavey is. Typically a Pavey comes to a point here at the end, right there where my finger's pointing. And a cant hook does not have a point on it. Cant hooks are for moving cants of lumber at a sawmill, where a Pavey is more for moving logs. Just to make it clear. There's a gas mask right there. Another tire. Like an old well pump there. Old hose and water hose. There's an old truck hitch down in there on top of that green tarp. A bunch of things in the little wooden drawer over there. Little wooden drawers down in. Fireplace flue up there. That's what that metal thing, that rusty old circular thing is. It's flue for a stovepipe. And speaking of stovepipe, there's a little bit of one right there. Double wall stainless steel insulated pipe. And there's some kind of an interesting little contraption down there with those wheels, different pulleys and things. There's another one of them around here too, I saw. And this thing here, some kind of a roller thing. It's got the little handle on the side there. Not really sure what that is, what that's for. And here we have a whole bucket of broken axe handles. Gotta love that. All of them, the tops are broken. And downstairs there's actually the opposite bucket of all the axe heads that came from these axes. That these axe handles are there for. So, a bunch of old pipes, old plumbing fittings down in there. Pretty interesting. There's an old kitchen faucet right there. And then back in here, you can see more of that little wooden thing. Bunch of hinges and things. And then here we have a whole assortment of screws and whatnot. Let me just pull one out. That's I think old eyeglasses or something in there. But some old screws, the old slotted screws. Oh, there's some Phillips over there, but pretty neat. So they're wooden drawers, but they're metal lined. I don't know if this would have been from a post office or a library or whatever, but it's neat to see it up here. That looks like part of maybe an old Indian firefighting backpack thing. Not sure. That hose kept poking me in the head. But back in there's a bunch of, not sure, dyes or something. Back in that box there's a some kind of copper thing right there I'm pointing to. More bolts and nuts. That's why we fit in so good here at the property, because we're little nuts ourselves. Haha. Old chainsaw chain down in that one container. A bunch of nails. Here's the stovepipe for the oil furnace coming up out. I'm not sure what that is back in there. The gray thing in the red box. But then you get into just a bunch of wood and that gray thing, whatever that is. I have no idea what that thing is. Interesting. And then this gray thing here, there's a bunch of books there at the base of it, but what in the world is that? I have no idea what that thing is. I mean, I'm fairly up on a lot of antique stuff, but this is, I don't know. It's got some kind of a, flexible accordion looking thing right there. Whoops, can't do that right there. No idea. All right. And here we have steps that go up to another floor, but we're not ready for that yet. We'll come back to that. You have to watch to the end of the video. I'll torture you a little bit here. There we have another old horn. You can see. There we have some interesting things. The weed shooter. You can see that weed shooter. Hudson weed shooter. It comes down there to this end thing here. So, never heard of that. There's an old fumigating sprayer thing. There's the orange one behind it. Again, some kind of a little contraption there with the gears on it. Little small little nails and things. Old lights, old CB radio there. Got a bunch of little barrels down here at the bottom. Little tiny little barrels. Up there we have something that I will never be using. A bunch of vintage roller skates. I've never been a roller skater. Tried it when I was a teenager and just about broke my neck a few times and then just said enough. It was some kind of a youth group thing and to this roller skating rink, and it didn't work out. But there we have Popular Mechanics Do-It-Yourself series. So that's kind of an interesting thing not to be rescued from the barn. Bunch of tar paper. Dowel rods, wooden dowel rods. Looks like that might be a typewriter. That looks like a typewriter case, but I'm not sure. Haven't opened it up yet. There's an couple old Packer things there for going out trapping and whatever else. We have, baskets. I'm saying the old wooden trapper baskets. You put those on your back. Old fan with motor attached. Looks like an old chair, old sofa chair back there with that gray thing on it. A bunch of wood. 2009 receipts. They were very thorough people. Here's an old handy Andy tool chest. Right there. Little toys for children. You have your little chisels here, like that. Little chisel. Little screwdrivers. A little bit and brace thing there. Get your little tape measure, little tape rule thing. These expand out if you don't know how that works. You have your little block plane over here. Kind of neat. A little tiny hammer. Little saw used for dovetailing some things. And then a little pair of pliers. Real tools for children. Teach them how to work when they get older. Pretty interesting. Instead of an Xbox or something like that. I know how to work because I played Minecraft all my life or something. Yeah, not so good. There's an old vacuum down there. If you've never seen a really old vintage vacuum. There's the other parts of it right there. Here's an old scale for weighing things. 3 pounds is what my lantern weighs. Here's an old dresser with mirror. There's me shining the irritating light in the mirror. There's the old crib. We had a high chair with those kinds of little stickers or whatever on it. I remember that growing up. A bunch of children's school desks. A whole bunch of dowel rods up there. Another little wooden stakes and things. Okay, I don't know what that thing is back in there. Let me show you quick. What is that back in there? I have no idea. Alright, now we will go over here. There's out the back. Right there. And over here, let's continue. Here we have some beehive material, wasps or whatever. Thankfully it's not active anymore. There's an old fire extinguisher, an old fish net, very interesting. And we have a bunch of old bikes. I like to say that they have the handles are like the old, I used to always call them ram horn handles. That's probably not what they're called, but you know, it always reminded me of like doll sheep, how their horns come back around. But yeah, we have a bunch of old bicycles here. Another one, that blue one back there looks like a pretty old one. These other ones look like 1970s or 80s. 10 speeds and whatever. Here we have an old chainsaw. I can't see what brand it is. Might be a Humlight. I'm not sure, I can't tell. But old Pepsi bottles there, they don't look like that anymore. Down there's the internals of an old radio. I'll show you the rest of it here in a minute. Other older things down in there. A bunch of older kerosene heaters way back in there. Looks like, I think. But another kitchen sink right there. So we have two kitchen sinks. An old tricycle right there. Remember, we used to have one of those, and one of the children would be on here pedaling this thing, and the other one would be standing back here on the back, those steps, and you'd lean wrong, and the whole thing would tip over on you, crash on the floor, crash out in the driveway. That was just part of the fun back when I was little. There's an old banana seat for an old bicycle there, that pink shiny one. They were great. There's some old doors. I don't mean Jim Morrison. Never liked that guy or the band really, but anyhow, some old things back in there. Looks like an old base for a router back there. I'm not sure. A wood router, I'm saying. Not an internet router. And bunch of lumber right here. And there's the National Geographic magazine. And then here's this neat old radio. Look at this thing. Isn't that beautiful? Look at that. Stromberg and Carlson, it says. That intricate carving on there. Pretty neat. I'm going to fix that up and make it into something. I don't want that just sitting up here collecting dust. So there's something clamps onto a table. I'm not very sure what that is. Again, let me know if you have any ideas. Alright. Old fluorescent light thing there with a bunch of stain on it. Things of wires. A whole bunch of scrap wire back in there. Lots of scrap wire. Old shirt. Old cassette player. We used to call those boom boxes back when I was a boy. That's a pretty cool boom box. Yeah. And old toilet thing there for when you get older. And some caulk. An old iron. So we're back to the steps going downstairs. The hidden drive, as it were. So let me put my light down. And take one last little look around the upstairs of the barn here. Pretty neat. I'm starting to sweat a little bit trying to do this early in the morning so that we don't have the full heat of the day. Obviously it gets pretty warm in here, but nice and dry. Doesn't smell moldy, which is good. And it has the barn smell to it, you know, old wood, old things, but not that bad. So, well, that'll be it. Oh, wait. No, you said, what about up there? We have to go up the steps, Brother Brian. All right, all right. You talked me into it. We'll go up the steps. Don't worry. Another cool thing about it, it's actually 3 floors, if you want to be technical. So, to do this with one hand. Crack my head on that wooden part there. Son was telling me, he said, I built this back before I really knew what I was doing, and he said, unfortunately, he said, I didn't build it quite right. And he said, for taller guys like you and me, he's about my height, he said it's a little bit, you know, you have to duck. Make sure you don't smack your skull up there. But now we are on the 3rd floor. Not a very big floor, but kind of an interesting area up here. Very hot up here. It's kind of a solar powered sauna, if you will. But there's where you can go out onto the roof right there. Out onto the roof. And I guess this was used maybe as a little bit of a greenhouse or something up here. You can see the temperature in here is 100 degrees according to that thermometer, and I believe it. It's rather warm. So they got another boom box up here. Check it out. Look at that. You can sit up here and sweat like crazy and listen to tunes. But there's the, here you have all the gardening stuff, you know, whatever else that you could use. And so yeah, mouse traps up here. Crazy to think of mice coming the whole way up here. So yeah, this is the 3rd floor. The 3rd floor little, Oliver calls it the air traffic control tower because it's so high up. So, and there's a little trap door that you can close if you want. Probably feel pretty good in here in the winter time, but we bought it in the summertime. So, all right, I have to go down here without breaking my neck. Now leaving the air traffic control tower. Yeah, that's some good sweating in up there. So now you've seen the upstairs. Lots of stuff to discover up here, lots of things to go through. Really a neat bunch of things and real blessing. We like old things. I don't believe in just, oh, it's old, get rid of it or something. No, I'd have to get rid of myself. I'm old. Again, thank you to everybody out there for subscribing. Thank you for your support of the ministry, and we will be definitely coming out with some interesting things in the future. And I now have a place to be very creative. This is making a lot of things happen up here in my head in terms of creativity and what I want to do with this room and that room and how I'm going to build this and do that. So pretty neat. So have some more special videos to do for my viewers now that we've reached 100,000 subscribers. So some pretty neat stuff coming out. That's going to be it. Thank you for watching.